All right, very well. So, as I said earlier, that we'll be exploring appearance panel in Illustrator today, and I'm going to start up with a new file. So, appearance panel is here in the properties panel. You could find that, and it
I
looks.
can't. I only see you.
Oh, sorry, I haven't shared my screen. Just a second. I completely forgot about it.
You need your night chai.
Is it visible now?
It's starting to be. There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. So I have started with Illustrator new file, and there is this appearance panel I was talking about. If you
Okay.
don't see it in the interface, you could go to the Windows and then look for appearance, or otherwise hit the shortcut Shift plus F6 on the keyboard. So I'm just gonna pull it out, and then first we will have a look at it, and then I'll show how we can utilize it in our workflow. So right now nothing is selected. There is nothing on my in my workspace right now. It's just a blank file, but still in the appearance panel I can see that it says stroke and fill, and it says stroke 1 point, and the stroke color is black, fill color is white, which is the default settings for Illustrator. That means if I create something, it will have these attributes applied to that automatically. So if I draw a circle, we can see that the circle has white color filled into it and an outline of black color with a thickness of 1 point, and that is coming because the appearance is set so I'm just gonna delete it, and then quickly let's see what if I change the white to a pink color. We notice that it also is changing the default values here, right? So now if I draw, I'm gonna get the attributes which are applied for the default thing. Now once we have applied it, and then if I select and then make changes, now those things will be not applied as a default value. However, those can affect the selected object. Now in this case I can expand the stroke also by clicking on the stroke. The this is a hyperlink actually, which gives you quick access to the strokes panel, and then here I can play around with a lot of things. Now if I deselect, now this stage is very important because often people get confused with the appearance panel, and then they think that okay, we are better off it because it is unnecessarily probably complicating things. But right at this point, if you just be a little aware of what is selected and what is reflecting in the appearance panel, then things will be much easier. So if I deselect everything, still you would see that the same settings are showing up, right? Now that happened because we changed the settings, and Illustrator has a tendency of remembering the last settings which was applied. So if I just select the tool and create another object, it is going to fetch the same values which was applied on this particular object, which we did via appearance panel. Okay. Now the point to notice here is that both the objects can have separate appearances. That means I can select this one and then choose a different fill color, change the thickness of the stroke, and these two objects are completely separate from each other and both are having their own appearances. Okay. Now what happens if I click outside? Now if I click outside, notice the last selection is set as the default appearance. So if I had selected it last and I clicked outside, next time I click on any tool and then make anything, it's gonna remember the last setting of the selected object. Similarly, if I select this one and then click outside, it resets the default color, right? And now if I click and make anything, it will remember the last click. So now this is a confusion which was, we should just be aware of it. If we are aware of it, we will make no mistakes. Many times what happens, we look at here and accidentally may deselect this, and in the appearance panel when we see these settings, it feels as if it is still connected with this object, which is not the case, because right now nothing is selected, and if I change the color of this, nothing will happen, right? What we are doing is just setting the default values for the fill color, and it will have no impact on the objects which are not selected. However, next time if I select anything, make anything, it's going to apply the default settings on that. Okay, since now we are aware of this method, we can move ahead in understanding appearance panel. So I'm just going to let me just, I think I like this one, so I'm just gonna put it in the center and then show you the benefits of appearance panel. So the appearance panel can be looked at as an archive where all the attributes of an object can be selected, can be saved. Now here at the bottom you can see there are three options here on the left hand side and three options on the right hand side. One by one we will go through them. Here these options are fairly simple to understand. The arrow allows you to expand it and collapse it. And also notice, if everything is collapsed, we have access to three properties, which is stroke, fill, and opacity. This opacity controls the overall opacity of the object. However, we can also expand fill and then access the opacity associated with just the fill. Same goes for the strokes also. You expand it, you will have access to the opacity of just the strokes. Further, if you want to look at the properties, you can click on the opacity, and that gives you access to quickly the transparency panel, which you can also access by going here. Now, you can also look at appearance panel as a place from where you can almost access everything related with the object. Stroke, fill, opacity, right? You can also click here and then choose a gradient for it, and the gradient, oh, this is an exception. You, appearance panel will not allow you to play around with the gradient here. So for that you will have to switch to the gradient tool, but you have to ensure that fill should be selected before you start tweaking up the gradients. We will cover the gradient in the next class. Because that's going to take at least half an hour, I think, solely. But it's a very powerful thing in Illustrator, and there are many ways how we can use gradients. So we'll look for that in the next class. For now, let's just come back to this. These eye icons are simply to switch them off, switch them on. Now this is fairly new concept wise, because no other software will have this. uh, it looks like the layers panel, but it is not layers panel, because in Illustrator we also have layers panel separate, right? In layers panel, what happens, we have the objects stored in different layers and sub layers in Illustrator, while in appearance panel what we have is the attributes of an object stored as separate entities, right? And the best part is that we can have two strokes applied on the same object, and that's really new, right? Because in vector objects we have never seen that we can have multiple strokes applied on the same object. To do that, we can use this left icon, add new stroke, and you see that now we have two strokes. Seems as if nothing happened here, but what we did, we copied this particular stroke and made a version of that on top of it, and that's why it seems as if visibly nothing happened. Now what we can do is reduce the thickness of this one to, let's say, 4 points, and this particular stroke to, let's say, 12 points, and then change the color of this stroke. And then you can see, okay, let me change it to a contrasting color, that there are two strokes applied on it. See,
Are you able to, like, I'm trying to think of the application I would use this in.
Mhm.
Can you make the stroke go from the center to touch
Yeah,
the orange,
yeah, correct.
but like
Yes,
without
I'll show you all the possibilities. So in the strokes
okay.
panel, if you expand it, you have the option of capping. In this case, capping will make no difference at all because it's a
Mhm.
closed object. Then you have corners. Here also corners will make no difference because it's a circular object. But the align stroke part can be played around with, and we have three options. By default, the stroke aligns to the center of the path. We can have it inside the path or outside the path. In this case,
Yeah,
let's
that's
say
what I
that
was
I
wondering.
want to go inside, I can do so. Now see what happens. If I click on these, nothing is happening. You know why?
Because it's not selected.
Correct. And this is the biggest mistake people do. Okay. So first we need to select it and then come here and then click on the strokes panel, and then you will see I can align it inside or outside.
That's nice.
Okay. So I'm just gonna let it be outside for the while. And from here, let me show you that we can also have another fill applied on top of it. So I'm gonna select the fill, and either I can click on this. It says add a new fill, which essentially is copy the same thing, or you can click on this option, which duplicates the selected item. In this case, both are going to do the same thing, right? So I'm just gonna select this and click on this and change this color to let's go for green. I don't know. Okay, so this teal color we'll choose. Now this orange color is superimposed uh, by this teal color we have filled it with. So we can also apply effects on it, and effects not on the entire object but the attributes of this particular object. So I can apply a transform effect on the fill, just the teal fill we have on top of the orange fill. So to do that, first you have to ensure that the object is selected, then look at the appearance panel and select the right attribute, and then go to the effects menu, and then we will choose distort and transform. Now these effects, right, except the 3D and material, uh, these things can be applied on the selected attributes. These can also be applied, but these are bitmap effects and these are vector effects. So I'm going to go to the distort and transform, and we will choose transform. From transform, first thing first, we will enable the preview so that we can see the changes. And let's say that the horizontal scale I want to reduce it to 50%, and here also I want to go 50%. Okay, so what I did, just this fill, I have scaled it down to 50%, and it goes in the center, right? And then I can say okay, we have many other options also. I'll let you work with it and then find it on your own. um, do a little experiment, and then I'm gonna say okay. So this fill, if I expand, you will see that the effect is dynamically associated with it. That means it's not a permanent change which we have done. We can anytime come here and then switch off the transform effect, and you will see that the fill regains its full size. And I can switch it on. I can add more effects if I want. I can multiply this transform effect also by selecting it and making a new version of it. What I did, I transformed it, reduced it to 50%, and then that 50% also again I reduced it to 50%. That means we have the resultant transformation 75%. Okay, so this is the way you can dynamically handle the visual appearance of your object by using the appearance panel. Now this is not it. There is a lot more to it. For example, Let's say that I want this stroke to be a little wobbly, so I can select this particular stroke, and then let's go to the effect, distort and transform, and let's say I want to put a zigzag effect on it. So this is what I get, and I can smoothen it out, you know, play around with the size. Okay. Okay. And another thing which I want you to notice is that if I have an effect going on here which is applied on a particular stroke, I can just select that, hold Alt on the keyboard and click and drag that to make a copy of it. And I'm going to apply it on the stroke above that also, the thinner black stroke, and you will see it quickly aligns itself with that. Okay.
Mhm.
We can also try this putting on the fill. So let's see if that works. I'm gonna click, drag it, and then leave it on the fill as well. But notice that the fill, despite of having the zigzag effect, is not doing much, right? Even if I switch it off, switch it on, no difference at all. Okay, let me just go inside that. First, we'll have to select it, and again I did the same mistake. If you have realized, accidentally I deselected the object and then applied the zigzag on it. So what happened, I was doing the changes in the default appearance, right? So we have to make sure that the object should be selected and then only make any changes to that. And see, it worked, right?
Hmm.
I can also apply transform on this one, so I can simply select this, make a copy of it and drag it on the fill. Again, I made the same mistake. I deselected the object because I wanted to see it, and this is not working out well. So I'm just gonna select the object once again, right? Now, first thing should be make sure that the object is selected, then only do anything. And despite I know it very well, I keep on doing this mistake every time. So I'm just gonna make and then click on this transform, and let's say I want to set the value to 75% to have something like this. Now creating this thing, and this is one single circle, that's it, and everything happened with the help of appearance panel and the effects. Okay,
Mhm.
right? Now this is just one simple application of it. The best thing is that we can save it as a graphic style. So see this graphic style panel here, I can simply select it and then drag it in the graphic style, and this is going to be preserved as a graphic style. So all of the things which we did to the appearance, this can be applied to any other object also. So for example, let's say I have a rounded rectangle, square, and I want to apply the same style to this one. So I simply have to select it and then click here on the graphic style, and we will see the same style got applied to it. Obviously the
Hmm.
appearance is going to differ, but more or less it's doing the same thing. The best thing is still you have the control over the shape of the object, and that can give you really sometimes very organic results. And just imagine doing this uh, from scratch by using multiple shapes, right? uh, we can try out star also. I don't know how it's gonna look, but oh, it looks nice. So this is the power of appearance panel. You can quickly make nice graphic styles and then use that. You can have
Perfect for
all
the
sort of
Christmas holiday.
Yeah, right. Now, we can also apply drop shadow and all those kind of effects. So I'm gonna select this fill here, and then I'll show you effects, stylize, drop shadow, and see the drop shadow can also be there. I'm gonna change the offset value to 0 and 0 so that it appears as if it is emerging from the center, and the blur amount also is very high, so I'm gonna put it to 2 points. Yeah, looks fine. And maybe drop the opacity to 50%. Make this one 3 points. So okay, all right. So this is appearance panel and graphic styles. If I expand this, you will see all of them are listed here. I can anytime go switch off them if I want, switch them on, or if I wish to tweak them up, I can do that as well. So let's say I want to create a variation of this star. I'm just gonna make a copy of it, and I can quickly go to the zigzag and maybe just play around with the settings, and you see very interesting things can be made.
Snowflake.
Yeah, see. So a little hit and trial may result into something really intricate and nice. And if people look at it, they will keep on imagining, how did you do that, right? See?
Mm-hmm.
So and we haven't permanently done any harm to it. We can always go back, right? That's the best thing. Okay. Similarly, we can play around with this outer uh, strokes also. If we want to apply one more color, we can put another color. Let's say that I want another stroke of 2 points below the black one. So I can select this one and click on this to make a copy of it, and then change this to 2 points, and change this color to the color of our choice. Let's say seems as if nothing happened because this stroke is right underneath the black stroke. If I hide this one, you'll be able to see that. I just want to push this stroke up, so I'm want a transform control. So I'm gonna hold alt and then drag this transform. First select it, sorry, uh, and then hold alt and then drag it on this stroke, and something weird may happen. Okay, obviously it went inside. I wanted it up, so I'm gonna open this up, and I'm gonna transform it 110%. Okay, uh, let's go for 101%. Okay, 105%. Okay, so you can see it's peeping out from the behind and gives you very interesting results. Okay, uh,
Mm-hmm.
another thing is that you still have the control over the shape. That means the settings which you can do with the, let me show you. If I create another star, I can hit D. If nothing is selected, if I hit D on the keyboard, that resets all these settings, set it to the default colors. Okay, and then now I can click on the star and then make one. Okay, And let's have a look at this options. If you select the direct selection tool, then you have these control points to change the curvature of the star. Now the way it works here, the same way it's gonna work here as well. So I still have the control over the curvature of it, and then you can get really interesting, shapes. Okay,
Okay.
see. All right. Now, this works also for the organic shapes, not just the primitives we have here. So if you draw something by using the pen tool, this will be true for that as well. I'm just going to convert this anchor point into a smooth anchor point, and then just edit this a little bit. So, and now if I apply the graphic style on it, this also works for this.
A little island. Will you at some point go over just using the pen tool like what you just did? Because sometimes I
Mhm.
get so messed up and everything just sort of it's all tangled and I don't know how to fix it.
Okay, so we are almost done with the appearance panel. Just the last thing, and then I'll quickly cover the pen tool also. Okay. Uh, so the effects I was accessing by going to the effects panel, all of them can be found out here in the effects panel as well. And you can, instead of going there, you could simply select one attribute and then apply the effects from here. That is all I wanted to share. And once you are done, it would be a better choice to save it as a graphic style, because obviously you have done a lot of effort to come up with the appearance, and you would want to preserve that. The graphic styles stays with the file. So if you save the file, the graphic styles will save with the file. Otherwise, what you can do, you can select one style
Can't get
and then click on this and then choose new graphic style and then save it. And if you save it here, if you save it here, that means it's gonna go in the library of the your computer, Illustrator's library, and you can utilize this graphic style in any other project of yours as well. So that is all what was there. You also have a lot of interesting styles, predefined styles, that can be accessed by clicking on this, and then you have a lot of options. Okay, for example, let's click on type effects, and in the preview it might not seem as if it's what it is, but we can definitely, it says type effect, so it must be something to do with the type. Let me increase the size. Okay. uh, I also don't know how it's gonna look, what it is, but let's see.
very 80s.
Yeah. So, and then we have this, this looks cool, right?
Mm.
It's quite heavy, I think. Now look at this one. So certainly there is a lot to experiment with. And the best thing is that if you select it, apply, this looks really nice. Okay, so now if you select it, you will have access to the appearance panel, and then you can inquire about the properties it is having, right? For example, this fill. So instead of going for this gradient, if I wish to change it with a different gradient, I have the option, and I can choose that gradient, and the effect will also change. Okay, so what I would advise you to do is load the library, and after loading the library, apply it on something, and then check out the appearance panel after selecting that object. to learn how it is done. And if you do it with a couple of things, uh, you will get to learn that how what type of effects can produce what kind of results. Like for example, this one, it looks really nice, you know. Then we have this. Some may really work nice and some may don't. Okay, this looks like gold. All right. Uh, Lisa, I have a
Mhm.
meeting at 9:30, so I'll
It's
wrap it up
okay if
in
you do a
next
short
15
day
minutes.
to day.
Okay. But I'll cover the pen tool. Uh, that won't take more than 10 minutes. We are done with this appearance panel. Uh, so you can try this out and then show me in the next class. Now for the pen tool, uh, so pen tool allows you to create vector shapes, right? That's there. So fundamentally, I think you know what pen tool is, but the glitches we face, that I'll try to cover. You click once and you get a corner point. Okay, just remember this. One click will get you a corner point if there is nothing. There are two types of points. So if I click next, just single click, nothing else, I get a corner point. And as long as I keep on clicking, I'll keep on getting corner point. I'll just hit D to reset it to the default. Uh, Now if I click and drag, instead of a corner point, I'm defining a smooth point. Next time I click, I'll again get a corner point. So unless you click and drag, you will keep on getting corner points. But this corner point is a little special because it is connected with a curve, right? So this also can be referred as a cusp anchor point. Now if I click next, I'll get a corner point. If I want a curve, I would click and then not let go of the mouse button and drag. Okay, then I have a curvature. If I want to continue with the curvature, I'll have to click and then keep dragging till the time I get the right curve, and then I can keep on repeating that for creating the shape of my choice. Okay, if I want to just end it, I can double click, sorry, not double click, hit escape. That will end the line segment. Now here, let's look at it once
So
again.
when you end, you hit escape, or what's another
Escape,
button you can hit?
escape.
Like on my computer, I don't have escape though, or I have like I have an escape there, but
Yeah, you
yeah.
have an escape,
Or
right?
not.
Mac also has escape. So you can hit escape to come out of the creation mode, and then you can modify by going to the direct selection tool. And let's have a look at when the path is selected. Look at the option bar here at the top, and I'll show you a couple of nice options which allow you to convert your anchor points. So you can do it from here, or you can just click and hold on top, and then there is this anchor point tool which allows you to convert the corner point into a smooth point and a smooth point into a corner point. Okay, now how I do it, I don't use these or these. What I like to do is use the shortcuts. So if I have the pen tool selected, I can hold control on the keyboard. That gives me access to the direct selection tool, and I can click and manipulate the anchor points. Okay, I can hold Alt on the keyboard, which gives me access to the convert anchor point tool. I can click and then drag. See, the corner point got converted into a smooth point. If I want to again change it to a corner point, all I have to do is make sure Alt is pressed on the keyboard and click back on the anchor point. It is back there. Okay. If I want to add an anchor point somewhere, let's say I want to add it here, I don't have to hold anything on the keyboard. Just hover on top of it and it will show a plus sign below the pen icon, and you can click on that to add an anchor point. If you wish to remove an anchor point, again you just have to find an anchor point, hover on top of it, you click on that, and it get rid of that anchor point for you. So almost all the options which are there can be very easily accessed by holding either control or alt on the keyboard. Okay, so I can hold control, click on this, move it anywhere I want. Also, if the control is pressed, I have access to this control point, which changes the curvature. Now what essentially it does is it breaks this anchor point and splits it into two smooth points, right? And this gives us access to two different handles to manipulate that curve. But this is a corner point, right? Now what happens if I add a curvature? Let's look at this case here. So here this is a corner point, right? It adjoins two straight lines. If I hold control and then drag this, the resultant two anchor points are actually cusp anchor points, right? Because there is a curvature connected with straight lines on either of the sides. Now, the second case, if I create the anchor point on a curve, this is already a curve, right? If I create the anchor point on a curve, hold control, we will no longer have access to that handle because we are already on a curve, right? So why I'm showing you this, because a lot of time people get confused that I created an anchor point here, I'm getting that option of curvature, right? And sometimes we are not getting that option. So why is that not happening? Here also, if you created the anchor point, you will not have access to it because it's a straight line. Unless you have a corner, there is no point having a control vertex, control point to convert that into a curve, right? So yeah, pretty much everything which is there in relation with the pen tool I have covered. You have these couple of tools also. Now what that does is you can select an anchor point, and basically, let's say I want to remove this anchor point, I can simply go here and click on that. I already showed you how to do that. You don't even have to go there, you just have to hover on top of it and then just get rid of it. Now selecting it and deleting is not the right thing, because you'll be deleting the anchor point. Deleting and removing are two different things. I want to remove the anchor point. In case if you are here and you want to quickly access the remove anchor point tool, the shortcut is minus on the keyboard. Just minus, it will give you remove anchor point tool.
You have to do
And
option minus.
no, just minus, that's it.
Okay.
And if you hit plus, it will change to the add anchor point tool, and you can click on that. Okay. And
Mhm.
if anchor add anchor point or remove anchor point is selected, you can hold control and then you can move things wherever you want. Okay, still you can hold alt, but alt will just toggle between add anchor and remove anchor. Okay, but if you have pen tool, you can access that by hitting P on the keyboard, and now if you hold alt, it will give access to the convert anchor point tool. Okay, I can convert this into a corner point by just single clicking, and I can convert this into a curve by clicking and dragging. I'm holding alt while I'm doing it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all about the pen tool. Very simple, nothing.
Okay. Thank you for showing me that.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to
uh,
run to your meeting.
yeah. So
Okay.
today we'll
Thank
just wrap
you.
it up. Yeah, please.
Hmm.
We'll meet.
And I'm going to try to catch up on my homework this weekend.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
I'll stop
Thank
recording now.
you.
Yeah.